world above was spotless, because they threw their sins below. In Gachiakuta, we meet a city that gleams with false purity, a society that lives atop the ruins of its own waste. The rich bask in luxury, while the poor scavenge the edges, collecting scraps just to survive. But the true horror? It isn't just the garbage they throw away. It's the people. Rudo, a boy born among the discarded, never fit the mold of this perfect world. Branded a criminal's son, he lived under constant suspicion, his every action shadowed by his father's alleged sins. Until one day, they decided he'd inherited them. Accused of a crime he didn't commit, Rudo is sentenced to the unthinkable, to be thrown into the pit, a vast abyss where society hurls all it wants to forget: trash, machines, and people. The moment his body falls, he realizes the truth. There's no difference between waste and life here. They say the pit kills you before you hit the bottom. But Rudo, he didn't die. He awoke to something far worse. A world made from what humanity abandoned. Down here, the air stings, the ground moves. The garbage isn't dead. It breathes. It remembers. Every object thrown away still holds resentment. And now, it wants revenge. And so begins the story of Rudo, the boy society threw away, now rising from the garbage to hold a mirror to the world that condemned him. Because in Gachiakuta, the garbage isn't what's rotten. When the world above discards its trash, it believes the story ends there. But down here, every piece still tells a story. When Rudo first stands again, the pit stretches endlessly around him, a labyrinth of rusted metal, twisted machines, and decaying hope. But among the wreckage, he's not alone. There are others, survivors, who've learned to live among the ruins. They call themselves the people of the pit, a society born from what was meant to die. They scavenge the impossible. They craft tools from the forgotten. They give new life to garbage that should have never had one. And at the heart of the strange new world lies the concept of Jinki, weapons made from emotions, memories, and the spirits that linger within discarded things. Rudo learns that every Jinki is a reflection of its user's soul and of the object's past life. The rage of a blade that was thrown away, the sorrow of a toy abandoned by its owner, the despair of a photograph tossed aside after love turned to hate. Here, even trash remembers pain. The inhabitants of the pit don't just survive, they coexist with their waste. It becomes their armor, their tools, their history. But there's something deeper, something more horrifying. Because as Rudo explores, he begins to realize the pit isn't just a prison, it's a mirror. Everything thrown here is proof of what the world above truly is, a civilization that hides its filth behind a wall of luxury and righteousness. They called it justice. They called it purification. But it was just cowardice. The city above didn't want to change. It wanted to bury the evidence. And so, in the pit, Rudo meets the ones who've paid for that hypocrisy. men and women cast out for being inconvenient, children born of outcasts, inventors who dared to dream beyond the limits of the pure. All of them discarded by a world that pretends to be clean. But in their brokenness, they've built something real. A society that knows pain, but also resilience. A culture that understands that what's thrown away still matters. And for the first time, Rudo feels something he never knew above. Belonging. But peace in the pit never lasts long. Because the more he learns, the more he realizes this place was never meant to stay silent. The garbage remembers, and soon it will rise. In a world built on trash, justice is the one thing that never gets discarded. Rudo walks through the twisting alleys of the pit, the glow of Jinki weapons reflecting in his eyes. Each discarded item tells a story, a betrayal, a heartbreak, a lie. But the stories are incomplete without understanding the ones who threw them away. Above, the city thrives in its shining towers. The leaders preach virtue, but their hands are stained with the filth they deny. Wars waged in secret, lives sacrificed for appearances, and every act of cruelty hidden beneath layers of convenience, convenience so clean that no one notices its murder. Rudo's father, once a man of idealism, had tried to change the upper world. He failed, and his punishment was exile into the pit, leaving his son to inherit a legacy of anger, sorrow, and moral reckoning. The true crime isn't the fall into the pit. It's what the upper world did to make it inevitable.
The pit begins to stir. The outcasts gather. Machines, weapons, and memories, all alive with rage. The Jinki hum with energy, as if aware of Rudo's resolve. We were thrown away, but we remember, he whispers, and now we act. He confronts the corrupted leaders indirectly by sending messages, leaving traces, turning the very garbage they discarded into symbols of their hypocrisy. The upper world sees it as chaos, but for Rudo and the pit, it is truth made tangible.
Rudo understands that the garbage, the very things society discarded, has memory, intelligence, and will. The world above threw away their sins, but they forgot that sins remember. Every act of cruelty, every lie, every betrayal above is echoed in the pit below, and when the echoes converge, they become impossible to ignore. Rudo steps into the center of the pit, raising the ultimate question. What does it mean to be human if your world is built on the suffering of others? The pit answers, not in words, but in movement, in fire, in the hum of Jinki as the discarded rise, claiming both vengeance and recognition. Every society casts away what it fears. Every civilization buries its shame, but the pit remembers. Rudo stands amid the chaos, the pit alive with glowing Jinki, discarded objects swirling like spirits of the past. Each scrap, each machine, each broken toy whispers secrets of the upper world. Crimes of the rich, lies of the powerful, forgotten children. And Rudo understands. This is not just revenge. This is memory made tangible. It is the world forcing the upper city to see its reflection, distorted but undeniable. We are not trash, Rudo says to the abyss. We are the echoes of your failures. Yet even as chaos reigns, Rudo feels the burden. Each Jinki carries pain he cannot heal. Each discarded human carries hope he cannot restore. The pit is alive, but it is haunted. Its inhabitants are free, but they are also bound by memory, by trauma, by the weight of what the world above discarded. Rudo realizes that justice is not simple. It is not about victory or punishment. It is about bearing witness. The upper world will never see us the same way again. They cannot. The pit has risen, yes. But more importantly, it has spoken. And in its voice is a warning. Discard carelessly, ignore morality, hide your cruelty, and the world you built on convenience will remember. Rudo, once a boy cast aside, now carries the weight of every discarded memory, every forgotten soul. His struggle is both personal and universal. How do you survive when the world above treats you as if you never existed? How do you maintain humanity when all you touch is what others have deemed worthless?
The pit is more than a place, Rudo whispers. It is a testament. It is the memory of every act humanity tried to forget. And those memories, they are eternal. As the camera pans away, the pit glows beneath the perfect city above. A silent promise. The forgotten will always rise. And perhaps, one day, the world above will learn that what you throw away never truly disappears. Gachiakuta, a story not just of trash, not just of outcasts, but of humanity itself. Because what we discard defines who we are.